There's a huge paradigm shift in how we understand, how we define, and how we go about the research in type 1 diabetes. Insulin is our blessing, but it's also our curse. The biggest advance in the last few years has been the approval of T-Zield. The other area that has been a huge advance is stem cell-based research. This is a 24/7, 365 disease. Huge advances in device-based approaches, which are showing better outcomes, which are showing reduced burden, and which are getting better and better.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Rutul Gokalani, National Convener of D-Genius Group, and I welcome you all to D-Genuine Podcast. And we have today Dr. Sanjoy Dutta, who is very eminent personality in the field of type 1 diabetes research. He is Chief Scientific Officer of Breakthrough T1D. It is world's largest foundation in type 1 diabetes research as well as advocacy. So since last 1 year, we are seeing that there are many innovations and research which are coming in type 1 diabetes. So sir, I just want to know how Breakthrough T1D is making change in the field of type 1 diabetes, and what kind of research we are going to see further in next few years, and how it is going to change the life of the people living with type 1 diabetes.
So thank you, Dr. Goklani. First of all, thank you all to the D-Genius Group. I became aware of it very recently. It seems like a very elite group of 600 or so clinicians, many living with type 1 diabetes. So the lived experience is very, very critical here. So thank you again for welcoming me to this podcast here. In terms of type 1 diabetes, I will say, before I get into the developments and what we're going to see over the next few years, I will say that there's a huge paradigm shift in how we understand, how we define, and how we go about the research in type 1 diabetes. First of all, type 1 diabetes has been long known to be a disease of insulinopenia or insulin insufficiency. And the only treatment option was insulin treatment with insulin with different modalities of delivery. While insulin is the lifeline for people with type 1 diabetes, there has been insulin is our blessing, but it's also our curse, because there is complacency with insulin being sufficient. Where the paradigm shift comes is trying to understand the autoimmune process in type 1 diabetes. What are the causes and triggers of type 1 diabetes? Can we stage type 1 diabetes? And the answer is yes. Can we intervene early before autoimmunity completely blows away all your insulin-producing beta cells? Can we ideally prevent type 1 diabetes, or at least we can prolong the period of your endogenous insulin secretion, which sometimes is called the honeymoon period. So the first paradigm shift is understanding the stages of type 1 diabetes, the etiopathogenesis, how it progresses the disease, as well as how we can intervene in these stages. That's been paradigm shifting. And the biggest advance in the last few years has been the approval of T-Zield, or teplizumab, a monoclonal antibody against anti-CD3, which has been shown to delay the onset of frank insulin dependence in people with type 1 diabetes. So that's the first immunotherapy now approved in the United States and a couple other countries. Hopefully it will be approved in most of the other parts of the world very soon, including in India. The other area that has been a huge advance is stem cell-based research. So we can define cures in many ways. And at Breakthrough T1D, we're approaching cures in plural because of two reasons. One is biologically, the different cures are likely to work for different people. And secondly, we have to exercise all the tools we have in our armamentarium. One way would be to arrest the autoimmune attack and regenerate your lost beta cells. But the other is stem cell-based research, where you can, outside the body, cultivate these cells to make them beta cells and then put them back in the body and provide insulin independence. Do you address the autoimmunity? You don't. But you provide insulin independence, and it impacts the people with diabetes.
Wow.
Because this is a 24/7, 365 disease. It's relentless. The mental burden is way too much and tremendous. And then at all age groups, and it's a family disease. It's not just the disease of the individual. And all that put together, we want to be able to latch on to the lowest hanging fruit, which we think right now is stem cell based insulin replacement therapy. And then finally, Dr. Goklani, as you know, and you're in clinical practice here, is the huge advances in device based approaches, which are showing better outcomes, which are showing reduced burden, and which are getting better and better, in terms of the automation, in terms of the reducing on-body burden, and in longer wear systems. So there has been a revolution of devices right now, which I don't need to be explaining to this group because everybody is very familiar with it. So I think we are in a completely new era of type 1 diabetes. The 100 years of insulin only is now, insulin monotherapy is being shifted right now to an insulin plus concept. Wow. And how can we get there? How fast can we get there? And how efficiently can we get there is the role Breakthrough T1D is playing.
Wow. So I would like to ask you some more questions after knowing this three important things, that disease modifying therapy, other is cell-based therapy, and AID, that is automated insulin delivery system. So definitely automated insulin delivery systems are going to make the changes in quality of life. But like disease modifying therapy, we are seeing just only one molecule, that is teplizumab. So are you seeing any other molecules coming up in next few years or so, which are going to prolong the type 1 diabetes or the prevention for longer duration?
Very good question, Dr. Gokalani. There is at least 7 therapies, possibly more,
wow,
over the last 5 years that have proven to work in phase 2, phase 3 studies,
wow,
in what we call stage 3 type 1 diabetes. So this is new onset, recently diagnosed within a few weeks to maybe a couple months of diagnosis, when you still have residual beta cell function. And these are immune-based therapy as well as beta cell stress therapies that are showing effectiveness, so efficacy and safety.
Wow.
Effectiveness, there are about 7 or 8 therapies, and we have been funding almost all of those, along
wow,
with other funders and pharmaceutical partners here. Just to name a couple of them here, and there were excellent talks at the Diabetes India meeting here. There are beta cell-based therapies like verapamil, an old, very old blood pressure lowering drug that is shown to release the stress on beta cells and
wow,
prolong the duration or reduce the autoimmune attack. The other one is our old friend JAK inhibitors, which are now approved for, psoriasis, it's approved for alopecia, it's approved for multiple indications, and JAK inhibitors are now being demonstrated that they can prolong the beta cells, endogenous beta cells. And there's a whole slew of immune-based therapies, including GAT65 antibody, including ATG, our old thymocyte globulin friend, and many, many others. So there's a panoply of therapies, disease-modifying therapies, both addressing the immune system as well as the beta cell side of the house. Ultimately, the proof will be in the pudding. We'll probably have to be able to combine them at the right stage of the disease to maximize on the benefits of the therapy, which is an enigma at the moment, and we are trying to work on that. And then, so that's where disease modification comes. But I urge you all to put your thinking hats on, put your research hats on with the DGenius group and come up with ideas. Come up with ideas how you can do combinatorial trials, how you can do sequential trials, how you can do, how you can find out new pathways, because that's where we are going to be succeeding here. It will take everyone working together to get there.
Wow. So it seems very exciting. And the most exciting thing we recently heard about is Sana Biomedics, which is coming up with a cell-based therapy without immunosuppression needed in future. So how do you see this future, and what the top-line results are saying?
So at Breakthrough Type 1 Diabetes, we are very excited about disease-modifying therapies, cell replacement therapies, and certainly the AID systems that are providing glucose control benefits and reducing burden of the 24/7 3-star management. However, if you are looking at cures right now, I think what's the lowest hanging fruit are cell replacement therapies.
Wow.
Stem cell-based beta cell replacement therapies. And the biggest proof we have, the biggest thing that gives us the confidence to move forward with it is islet transplantation.
Wow.
So islet transplantation has proven to be a cure, but it's not a scalable solution. It's not a scalable solution, and it requires chronic whole body immunosuppression, which is only going to be eligible for a very small subset of people with type 1 diabetes, the hypo-unaware as well as the IAH people with impaired awareness of hypoglycemia, with autonomic failure there. So, but now we know how to take stem cells, both embryonic and adult stem cells, and convert them into bona fide insulin-producing cells and put them back in the body. The two recent, there have been 4 or 5, and I'll be explaining that in my talk in a little while now, 4 or 5 different approaches demonstrating effectiveness in the clinic. I'm talking clinic, I'm not talking animal models now. Vertex is at the forefront right now with their stem cell-based therapy called VX880 and their second inline therapy VX264.
Right.
Although VX264 hasn't reported out any results, but VX880, the stem cell-based therapy with full immunosuppression right now, demonstrated significant benefits in not only insulin independence, but also HbA1c normalization.
Wow.
And these are in long-standing people with hypo-unawareness and adults with T1D. And then you asked the question about Sana Biotechnology, and we have been funding all of these academics and pharmaceutical companies, both at the Breakthrough T1D Foundation, where I belong to, and our venture philanthropy fund, the T1D Fund. And what Sana demonstrated right now, as a proof of concept, they took cadaveric islets, so deceased donor islets, and they used their proprietary platform called HIP, for hypoimmune platform, HIP, to make gene-edited diseased donor islets. It's a mouthful, I know. It's gene-edited diseased donor islets, and put them in the forearm of the muscle here without any immunosuppression.
Wow.
It was an N of 1 individual, an adult in Sweden, but it's on the heels of 8+ months of very, very strong cynomolgus monkey studies, in a monkey study. So, and this particular person, that the 28 data that Sana reported in the middle of January demonstrated that these cells were indeed safe. They lodged in the forearm, and they saw that by imaging. They were able to demonstrate C-peptide levels. There was no adverse event in the N of 1 individual. And so Sana, in their press release, has stated that this is not the product they're going to go for. This was the proof of concept for their proprietary HIP, hypoimmune platform, to see if that gene editing cassette works or doesn't work. And the answer is, it works.
Wow.
So now they want to do this in stem cell-based therapy so that it becomes a scalable solution right now. So it is very exciting. There are also other companies, Ceraxis, Cernova, and others, and Eledon Pharmaceuticals that has an anti-CD40 ligand. They're all demonstrating through completely different mechanisms that this concept of stem cell replacement therapy actually works.
Wow.
And we are very pumped up about it.
Really exciting. So this is the thing that going to change the future of people living with type 1 diabetes. And I'm really thankful to you for sparing the time for D-Genius and this D-Genuine podcast. Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjoy Dutta, for being here. And I'm really very much hopeful, and I'll ask all our doctors living with type 1 diabetes to attend your lecture today in our main lecture hall. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Dr. Goklani. Thank you, D-Genius Group. I will plead to all of you, the next generation of clinicians and clinician researchers, to please not give up on this. There is a dearth of endocrinologists, a dearth of diabetologists all over the world. There is no one going to be able to take care of the future of people with type 1 diabetes. So we need you. We need you more than ever before. Wow. So please, I'm very thankful that you chose this line of specialty, and you will have our support as and when you need them. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.